And you're talking about spending more money that we don't have. It's a simple thing. We don't have it.
Well, let me answer your question. First of all, let me talk about the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913 to try and level out the number of panics and depressions, although that was before the term depression was used. And it was created as an independent federal agency. Congress, not only, the bill you're talking about would allow the Government Accounting Office to audit the Federal Reserve. That's all that bill does. I'm not on the committee, but it was created so Congress would not be involved in the money supply because that would be done by these independent Federal Reserve along with the local banks. I mean, ours is in Dallas and they're all over the country. So, you know, the reason I've been too busy on other legislation because I traditionally like that independence of the Federal Reserve because I don't particularly want Congress voting, you know, 218 to 217 to do something, you know, with the Federal Reserve. Because although what I have to admit, this last few years the Federal Reserve has been pretty worthless because they expanded the money supply. You know, part of it was because in response to 9/11, and also because, you know, we actually were spending a lot more money after 9/11 on security. We cut taxes, and, you know, first time in our history we've been in a war and cut taxes. But, you know, so the Federal Reserve did not live up to what they were supposed to do and created in 1913. They let the economy overexpand, and so, you know, that bill, if it comes out of committee, I'll vote for it. I don't feel comfortable in signing it because I think we ought to have an independent Federal Reserve. Just like we have an independent Supreme Court that Congress doesn't vote to replace Supreme Court judges. They either die or they're appointed. But let me talk about the China issue. If what you said was correct, that China's not buying our Treasury notes, you know, China's buying our savings accounts, whatever, our Treasury notes every day, because China has the most reserves in the world. And there's articles every day in the business section. Well, they may not, but right now they know, you know, the reason China's buying it, because we were also, up until recently, the best market for Chinese goods, because they knew that they were actually propping up our credit markets. But China is still buying our federal Treasury notes, and other people in the world. In fact, it's interesting, you know, our federal Treasury notes give so little interest now, but it's still the safest investment in the world, because you have people all over the world who are buying them because they know they will get repaid. When that note comes due, whether it's a 90-day note or a 10-year note, we've never defaulted in the history of our country. So, you know, I don't really, you know, we need to get a handle on our debt. We need to get a handle on the debt, and I hope we will, but we also have to get out from, like you said, at least, I don't know what July will be.
Consider these things. Why even consider these
Well,
major
the reason you're considering health care reform, Congress over the last, you know, the first time national health care was proposed actually by President Theodore Roosevelt when he was running in 1912 or something. But it was considered by Harry Truman. It was brought up during the 60s. Even President Nixon considered trying to do national health care in the early 70s before he cratered. But because right now, 50% of our bankruptcies in our country are from people who are in bankruptcy, not because they bought the house, or because of health care, because they get so much debt on health care, so they don't have any option except file for bankruptcy. So, you know, there are a lot of different information out there.
Amen. Yeah, thank you, Congressman. I am a cancer survivor, and I have to tell you, I was extremely pleased with how my insurance company handled all my claims, helped me deal with those issues, and were actually very forthcoming on different methodologies that I could go through to deal with that. Your colleagues, Barney Frank and even President Obama, have made comments about the fact that a government option inside any type of project that you guys want to put together, co-op or whatever, is going to lead eventually to, and they want it to lead to, a nationalized health care. You are going to be playing by rules that are not the same rules that the insurance companies have to abide by, which means automatically everything's going to go that way. I don't want that to happen. And just because the Medicare and Medicaid aren't working right, I don't think we should take over 60% of our market to help fund those things. You know, it's like having the post office, because it's not working, take over Federal Express and UPS. That doesn't make any sense.
Federal Express doesn't stop by your house every day, whereas the Postal Service does.
Well, it's because by law they can't, but I think if you open that law and let them, they
If
would.
somebody ships you a package, they'll come by
No,
every
it
day.
is against law for them to ever do it.
Well, they can't use that mailbox.
Okay, whatever.
They can put it on their door, they can do it. So, government run stuff, there's reason for it. Pardon?
How come we're not drilling on?
Yeah, let me get that question, I love that. Why are we not drilling?
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in domestic production.
We got enough natural gas to run all our vehicles for 2,000 years in this northern hemisphere.
Well, what we have though, and our problems right now, is that even if we started to lease up more area, I mean, seriously.
I'm in the field right now.
All I ask is you look at the natural gas market now. A lot of those companies, we have discovered on land, not on offshore, but we've discovered offshore. But you know, in West Texas and the Pecos area, the shale, just like the Barnett Shale, the problem is that natural gas is getting such a low price now. The free market system, those companies aren't going out and putting money in there. You know, once the economy comes back, we will need that natural gas, and we know where it's at. We can get it.
Obama's wanting to stop fracking the wells. Fracking the wells.
And I'm real familiar with the way you get to the Barnett Shale, and the one in northeast Texas is you have to do water injection, and state regulation now in Texas. We regulate what they do in that water injection. There are folks who want to do it on the federal level. But in all honesty, I tell our railroad commissioners in Texas, y'all do your job, because if y'all don't, then we have a whole bunch of folks that want us to stop doing it. So right now, we couldn't get to all that natural gas, whether it's in West Virginia or East Texas, Louisiana, or West Texas, or even up in the Dakotas, unless we have, well, technology may come up with something better we can do than water. Right now, we have to use water fracking to get to it. So, and we didn't, even on the cap and trade bill, they didn't run with an amendment, because we beat the amendment in '05 on the floor of the House and in committee. So,
We got enough natural gas to run all of our vehicles. We could sell Saudi Arabia, kiss our...
Well, and you're right. We've had natural gas vehicles, though. I had a guy that I went to church with that had 3 vehicles in the '60s that was CNG. But, you know, the technology's there. It's just trying to develop the infrastructure to get it filled up.
It's cheaper in development than hydrogen. It's a hell of a lot cheaper.